Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here with the System Simplified podcast, where we interview top entrepreneurs, founders, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And this podcast is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group. At Business Success Consulting Group, we create custom processes and tailor-made business systems so businesses can thrive and grow. All right, so I am so thrilled to introduce our guest this week, Dr. Bill Dorfman. Hi, Dr. Bill.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited. We just learned we might be cousins from Poland.
I know. This is amazing. We actually found out that we have roots going back to Poland before World War II. This is amazing. So, but let me first of all introduce you. I mean, this is such an honor to have you on this podcast. Dr. Bill is a celebrity dentist. He basically treats celebrities. He's been practicing over 30 years in Beverly Hills, and he is like no other dentist because he's a true entrepreneur as well. Dr. Bill, you started Zoom, which is a teeth whitening product, and you took that company from 0 to 1.3 billion. You've treated many celebrities that we all know their names, if we were mentioning them. You have your own podcast, which basically was ranked as in the 2% of the best podcasts in the US. And you are a true humanitarian and love helping people because you have a foundation where you mentor, where you and the team that you built, right, is for mentoring youth in order to learn about business and become successful. And the list goes on and on and on and on. But I love your motto, that the motto that we're going to discuss today, which is basically, tell me that again. So you work, you earn, and then you give, right?
My mantra for life is learn so you can earn and then return.
I love it. Learn so you can earn and then return. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how you systematize your businesses so you can actually apply that mantra of being able to return. So did I leave anything out in terms of the introduction?
No, I think you did an excellent job. And, you know, most people know me as a cosmetic dentist, and I probably became more of a household name when ABC put me on Extreme Makeover. And then from Extreme Makeover, I went to the doctors. And, you know, and I've loved doing that and educating the public and teaching them about cosmetic dentistry. And I'll be honest with you, I always knew that I would have a comfortable life as a cosmetic dentist. You know, what really kind of brought me over the edge was building a company called Discus Dental from 0 to $1.3 billion. And I love telling people today I invented Zoom because they immediately think Zoom video conferencing, but we were the first Zoom tooth whitening. And, you know, I'm going to backtrack for 1 second because the foundation that I built is called LEAP. It's a motivational leadership program for high school and college students. It's a nonprofit. We've done it for the last 14 years at UCLA. And it's an amazing experience for students aged 15 to 25 to really learn skills to be successful in life. And we teach a lot of things: time management, money management, networking, speaking, how to apply for a job, how to write a resume. I mean, on and on and on and on. But I always say the two most important things that I want to ensconce in these young people's brains is this. Number one, don't wait for opportunities in life, make them. Mm-hmm. And number two, when you do get an opportunity, don't take it, master it.
Love it.
And there's a big difference. So let's go back to Discus Dental, you know.
Let's do that.
And probably the best example I in my personal life is Discus and Extreme Makeover. And I'll just shortly tell you, when ABC put me on Extreme Makeover on primetime TV, Channel 7, every Thursday night as the cosmetic dentist, I stunk like horribly. I mean, the dentistry I could do, but you have to understand, I was like a dental nerd. I didn't know how to do interviews. I didn't know how to be like a TV personality. That was not in my armamentarium. That was not in my wheelhouse. And so even though I could do the dentistry, when they put a camera in my face and said, okay, boom, I would like freeze up like a deer in headlights. And I realized that they were going to fire me. So instead of waiting to get fired, I was proactive. I took acting classes, hosting classes, teleprompting classes. I worked with Rainey Warren Black, the woman who trains all the kids on American Idol, to learn how to interview. I mean, honestly, I could do this whole interview without you. I could just talk for the next hour. That's how much practice I have. I mean, it was a skill set that I had to learn, not to be a dentist, but to be on that show as a dentist. And as a result of me being on that show, our company exploded. Discus Dental grew steadily and plateaued at about 76 million a year in sales for several years. The year I started on Extreme Makeover, we went to 101 million. The second year, 136 million. And the third year, we did almost $200 million in sales. And people literally walked into dental offices and said, I want to get Zoomed. That was like music to my ears, right?
That's amazing. Okay, so let's take this point. Okay, so I'm trying to make myself valuable for the interview, so you know that I'm here and asking questions. But I love what you said, in terms of like being the professional and knowing what to do and learning it and taking it to the extreme. So let's say there are people listening to us right now and they go, yeah, but I'm not Dr. Bill. I can't go on ADC. I can't do extreme. I can't be on Extreme Makeover. What would you say to a business, to an entrepreneur that is listening to us right now that has aspirations, but they want to be more successful, they want to double the company, but they can't be on ABC? What do you think they can do right now in terms of doing something that will push them into that direction?
Lesson number 3 from Leap: copy genius. Look, somebody out there is doing what you want to do really, really well. Look at the successful people. Look at the people that aren't successful. Learn what makes these guys successful and these guys unsuccessful, and then copy them and do it better. When I came to Beverly Hills as a cosmetic dentist back in 1987, do you think they needed another cosmetic dentist? No, not at all. Do you think they welcomed me with open arms? No, not at all. So what did I do? I found the 5 most successful cosmetic dentists in Beverly Hills. I called them all up and I asked them if I could come in and shadow them. Now, this was not a popular thing at the time. And most students that would come and shadow would come in, watch them drill on a tooth or two and leave. That's not what I did. I came 10 minutes early. I wanted to see how they greeted the patient. I wanted to see the patient intake forms. I wanted to see the discussions with the patient. I wanted to see how they brought the patient to the treatment room. I wanted to see how they then diagnosed the treatment, how they presented it to the patient, how they discussed the fees, how they discussed payments. Yes, you need to get paid as a dentist. And then how they gave them the treatment, delivered the care. And after that, how they brought them back to the front of the office, how they then scheduled the next follow-up appointment, and how they got paid. And every single one of those 5 dentists said the same thing to me. They said, you're really different than other dentists that we've had in here. I'm like, why? They said, you're like looking at the whole ball of wax. I'm like, look, I'm not just going to drill teeth. There's a person attached to the teeth. And a lot of dentists forget that part. That's the most important part.
That's amazing.
Treating people the way, and it's funny, when I go to a doctor I sit there and I'm like in utter shock how badly I'm treated by other doctors. Yeah, I mean, not like they're not rude or anything, but it's like you sit in the room for 3 hours and nobody even comes in and tells you that. Yeah, I mean, I would never do that. I mean, when you walk into my office, we coddle you, we bring you back, we give you refreshments, we give you blankets to make you warm, we explain the whole treatment. You're never left alone in a room sitting there. It's just, my goal is not to meet your expectations, but to exceed your expectations.
Boy,
Because
Dr.
when
Bill,
you
this is
exceed expectations, people want to tell other people about you.
absolutely, that's like music to my ears. Absolutely. First of all, you got me back to like I would start looking at all these incidents where I was sitting in a doctor's office, with a gown and cold and shivering for 15 minutes until somebody will come in. So I totally understand about those experiences. But what you mentioned is like so important. I couldn't have said it better in terms of having to have those systems in place. It's not just the dentist in the operatory drilling or doing a procedure. It's all the experience around it. Those are the systems that every single office, every single business should have, all the way from the patient intake, the experience through that, the treatment presentation, the follow-up, right? Because how do you feel, even as a patient, where you go to your dentist and, you didn't make your 6 months appointment, you had to look at your calendar later or whatnot, and no one follows up with you. It makes you feel not important, right? But if you have a systems in place as the dentist of actually recall and calling back and making sure, checking up on the patients, then as a patient, you feel like, wow, they really care about me. They care about my health. I should go back, right? So having all those systems in place are super important.
Well,
So,
let me tell you where the big void in our education is. When you go to dental school, they teach you how to drill teeth. That's it. They don't teach you how to be an employer. They don't teach you how to pay taxes. They don't teach you that your employees need to have a 1-hour lunch break. They don't teach you that people need to be paid overtime. They don't teach you any of this stuff, which is horrible because, sometimes you learn it in a really bad way. So, I always tell young dentists the best thing you could do from dental school is go work with a successful dentist and learn the business of dentistry and everything that goes into it. But let's shift to our original question is, how did you build Discus Dental?
That's right.
Well, Discus Dental was literally like the extreme makeover experience. I was trained as a dentist. I didn't understand charts and graphs and growth of companies. That was not my wheelhouse. So I had a very, very, very intelligent business partner. His name is Robert Heyman. He is my best friend today still. And he grew up in a very, very successful family. His father was Fred Heyman, who created Giorgio Cosmetics, 273. And basically, Fred Heyman created Beverly Hills. And, Robert was an MBA and he grew up in the cosmetic industry. So he understood marketing and advertising and how to grow a company. I had the dental background and I understood marketing just from my practice in dentistry. And together we made the dream team and we created Discus Dental with 2 employees, 4, 8, 6, 650, 700, 800, 850. And we grew this company literally with no investments, with no investors, from 0 to $1.3 billion in sales until we sold it in a strategic sale to Philips in 2010. Now, along the way, there became a point early on where I realized that the income and the potential for earning in my business was going to eclipse my dental practice by leaps and bounds. So what did I do? I went back to school. I took UCLA extension classes and I took business and accounting and all the things that I needed to know to be more valuable to my company. as opposed to just knowing the dental products. I created all the products that we had, but I didn't understand the business aspect because it had never been taught to me.
Right.
And in order for me to be able to be a bigger asset to my company and to be able to help my company grow, I know I needed to know that.
That's amazing. So I hear a lot about the learn. I mean, I can see the learn, earn, and then you return, right? You give back.
Right.
So in terms of, let's go to that point of people are listening to us and go, how can I be like Dr. Bill? I want to be like Dr. Bill. I'm so impressed and so inspired, right? And I'm thinking, in order to learn, I think you have to have some traits in you that will allow you to learn, will allow you to look at others, like you said, like see who is really good in your field and basically copy those the genius that they have into you. So I think a person they have to be humble first, because they have to understand that they don't know it all and they have to learn, right? They have to have curiosity. They have to be curious. So to learn more. What other soft skills you think or personality traits a person need to have in order for them to really be successful and learn, earn, and then return back?
I mean, I think that you need to be able to find great mentors in your life. And if you're fortunate enough that you can find a human to be your mentor, that's amazing. But, kids today have something we never had growing up. It's called the internet. I had the Encyclopedia Britannica, which was updated every, 2 or 3 years. That was where I learned everything I learned. But, you can learn up to the minute information on the internet. So if you can't find a living, breathing human being who can help mentor you and guide you and, go on the internet and do research. I always tell students, if you go in for a job interview and you don't know everything on the internet about the person interviewing you, shame on you. That's just laziness. You have everything at your fingertips. Take advantage of it. I have students come in and shadow me, hundreds a year, before COVID, and there are students that come in and I could tell these kids are going to be successful. They come in, they research, they know my practice, they know what we do, they ask intelligent questions. I actually had one student come in observing, and he's like on his phone the whole time. He's not really paying attention. Like, I don't even know why he was there. I felt like it was one of these things where he could just put on his resume, oh, I observed Dr. Bill Dorfman one day. And we finished the treatment and we went back into the back office. And I said, can I ask you a question? He goes, yeah. I go, do you know anything about my practice? He goes, no. I said, okay, do me a favor. Go on my website and just read about my practice. Like, why are you even here observing? Because somebody told him it would be a good idea. I said, that's just lazy. I said, sit on my website for the next hour and read about my practice if you want to stay here. And then ask me intelligent questions or go home, because it's actually insulting. I'm sitting here, giving you an opportunity to learn, and you're in the corner, I don't know, texting your girlfriend? Like, come on, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really strike me. One thing is, we talked about the characteristics of you have to have in order to want to learn and then give back. It's really also being intentional, because you are in everything that you do. You're super intentional, right? You have like your goal in mind and you go and execute it. Is that true?
It is. But let me tell you something. Not everybody really cares about giving back. I have some of the wealthiest people in LA that are in my practice.
Mm-hmm.
They could care less about anybody but themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. My feeling is, if you go through this life without having made the world a better place for having been here, shame on you.
I agree.
Right? Mm-hmm. Not everybody feels that way. And it's not for us to judge. I'll tell you, I feel very selfish because I feel like when I give, I get more out of it than the person I'm giving to. So maybe I'm a really selfish person in a way, but that's what makes me feel good when I know I can raise the level of a student's life, when I know I can, that's the beautiful thing about being a dentist. Patients come into my practice every day and, we make their lives better. We give them a better quality of life. They feel better. They function better. They look better. I mean, it's a really great profession and I love it every day. I could have retired years ago. I don't, because I love doing what I do.
Absolutely. And Dr. Bill, I interviewed hundreds of entrepreneurs. I mean, I work with hundreds of business owners, if not hundreds and hundreds throughout my career, right? So let's say thousands. And you're right, not everyone is in the same mindset of there is a bigger picture and they want to help. But those that I really saw that are really successful, and that not only success, depends how you measure success. I mean, you can say, yeah, your net worth can be your success if that's the way you want to measure it. But that's for me not success. Yeah, it's very important to have money and to have assets and to have all of that to actually accomplish what you want to accomplish. But part of being successful is also being happy and being able to live with yourself and have a great attitude. And my observation from looking at those thousands of business owners that I had the pleasure to work with throughout the years is those that are truly happy are those that like to help, are those that want to give back, are those that have something bigger in their lives, whether it's their faith, whether it's their community, whether it's their philanthropic actions or the humanitarian actions, because that makes them just more of a whole being as opposed to just, how am I going to get my next boat and my next mansion, my next house? And again, we're not judging. If that's what people want to do, that's their game, right? But it's really the self-accomplishment that you're talking about comes from giving, because then you become better. That's what we like to do. We like to give back, and it makes you feel much, much better when you serve others.
Totally.
So this is great. So now let's go back so we can complete the story, because I was like, wow, okay, so you were a young dentist in Beverly Hills. You went and shadowed all these big dentists, and then did you start your own practice immediately after, or did you actually go?
So I originally started working with two very famous cosmetic dentists. And one was a job that I knew was not going to turn into a long-term thing. He just needed help for a year or two. The other was with a dentist, and I was potentially going to buy his practice and take it over. And about 2 years into that partnership, he pulled me aside one day and said, Doc, you don't need my practice. You're already more successful than me. He said, go out and do your own thing. And so, we parted friends. There was no animosity at all. But, ideally, he wanted a young guy that, would take over his practice. What he didn't realize was going to happen is when I came in there like a wrecking ball. And I was like, and within a few months, I was busier than him and making more money than he was. And he said, you don't need my practice. And he was right. And I had the good fortune that a dentist right next door to us who had a beautiful suite already built for dentistry decided to leave the building. So that's the most expensive part, is building out a dental suite. I just moved right into his dental office and started my practice and went, gangbusters. It was awesome.
That's amazing. You see, good things happen to good people. It's like the right time, the right place. That's right. But let's say if it does not, then you continue, you persist until it happens. Just like what you said at the beginning of the podcast. You don't wait for the opportunity. You make the opportunity, right? You take a look. And then if you don't know how to do something, the opportunity doesn't arrive, then you inform yourself, you educate yourself, you learn. And by doing that, you will figure out how it can happen and how to do that. So, Dr. Bill, this has been so inspirational. I mean, I'm inspired, and we definitely, I totally relate to a lot of the things that you said, because I also like to make the opportunities. I like to look at opportunities that are there at the right time, love helping people. I definitely relate to that. And I hope our listeners relate to that as well, because this is the key to success. And waiting to, like, if you think about right now, okay, I have to wait to get invited to a show on ABC or wherever. You don't wait. You just look at what you have around you and how you can make that better. And then it's one step at a time, and really persevere, and you'll get there. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. 100%.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you again for being a guest on this podcast. Really enjoy talking to you.
My pleasure. And before I go, I just want to say, if any of your listeners want to contact me directly,
absolutely.
I'm probably the only person on Instagram with 1.3 million followers who actually answers all of my own DMs. So just DM me. It's at Dr. Dr. Bill, Bill Dorfman. And I promise you the response you get will be authentic, and it will be from me. In addition, if any of you have kids that are 15 to 25, this was for our 2021 program. It's always going to be the end of August, but LEAP next year will be virtual and live. And we've had amazing speakers: Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, Paula Abdul, Kathy Bates, Usher, Jason Alexander, Michael Strahan. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. So please, please, please send your students to our program. And finally, like you mentioned earlier, I have my own podcast. It's called Meet the Mentor. And all of these amazing people that I've just talked about are people that I've interviewed on Meet the Mentor. So Please feel free to listen to Meet the Mentor.
Absolutely. So Meet the Mentor, LEAP. So what's the website for LEAP?
LEAPfoundation.com.
Good.
Easy.
And I'll include it all in the podcast notes. So you'll be able to go to LEAPfoundation.com. Meet the Mentor, so you can find it on any point. Right now you're listening to a podcast, so the same platform you're on. So just go Meet the Mentor, and I'm just going to start following you. Absolutely, because I know that podcast is going to be super inspiring.
Thank you.
Wow, a direct communication via Instagram. Who does that? Nobody. I mean, I haven't met someone like you, Dr. Bill, that is such a celebrity that is willing to actually have the direct communication line. Amazing. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for giving back. And thank you for being a guest.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.